Hello everyone, and welcome to the updated lineup for 2022 when it comes to Nintendo Switch, since everything has changed. Well, most at least. I'm joined by Rogersbase. I lost the Xenoblade Chronicles free bet. I'm gonna take that L.
That's fine. I told you should have listened to me, man. I just felt it in my bones inherently that it was time, that it was gonna come this year. September was still a little bit sooner than I was expecting. So here we are, happy that it's happening. Obviously, you know how much of a Xenoblade fan I am. And yeah, between Xenoblade and some of the games we're talking about, it's like this year is really primed to potentially be the big year that's gonna rival 2017.
Yeah, and in many ways it starts with Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Since we got to taste it with the demo, it is absolutely stupendous so far. I think actually we're gonna move away from Kirby. We have LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga coming out on April 5th. I'm very excited for Nintendo Switch Sports on April 29th.
Me as well. I love the original Wii Sports and Wii Sports Resort, so the fact they're throwing in things from both of those. The only thing I'm a little worried about is the fact that why couldn't they just bring all the sports over from the original Sports and Sports Resort? Like, it feels weird to only have 6, and I understand they're like gonna drip feed golf and drip feed this other stuff, but I think I would personally have preferred if it was all just there right away, but still in all. And then soccer, it just looks like Rocket League. And quite frankly, I am not a huge Rocket League fan.
And we have a much better soccer game coming out shortly after.
That's exactly what I was going to bring up. Exactly. Because it seems weird that they would then put soccer in there when 2 weeks later, oh, that's not 2 weeks, 2 months, excuse me, we're getting Mario Strikers Battle League, which is another one of those big revivals that we've been waiting for, you know, something that we've wanted Nintendo to make a new one for a long time. And it looks great so far. I'm excited for it.
This game is going to depend very much on the online, but I know Nintendo's been working on improving their netcode beginning from games released in 2020. So this is probably going to be one of the first big tests also before Splatoon 3 comes out later in the summer. Speaking of the summer, since obviously June 10th, the launch day of Mario Strikers Battle League, is pretty much when E3 takes place.
And I do absolutely believe the big focus of that will be Breath of the Wild. I think the only thing about this, and the thing that I keep seeing people go back and forth about, is I think the only other game there might be a big focus for is Splatoon 3. Because that game is coming out summer, right? They haven't given a release thing for it. And every E3, you know, Nintendo always does those big invitationals for whatever their multiplayer game is, either Smash Brothers or Splatoon or whatever. And so I could almost see like an online invitational / like test Splatfest type deal thing for Splatoon 3 as like their lead-in to whatever their direct is. I really do still strongly believe the focus is going to be the sequel to Breath of the Wild, especially if that game is still coming out this year. I think you and I are in agreement though that even if it does get pushed from 2022, at the latest, absolute latest, I would do another steak bet on this. I would do another pizza bet, so you should know to trust me on this. I really do think at the latest it'll be out on the 6-year anniversary of Breath of the Wild. At the absolute latest.
It's a Friday, exactly the same as 6 years ago. It's March 3rd, and yeah, it just makes too much sense, you know?
I could honestly see them pushing it just to give it a little more time from this actual holiday season, though, because of some of the other stuff we're going to talk about.
So, Fire Emblem Warriors, Free Hopes, June 24th.
Yes.
Probably not the only Fire Emblem project that is in the works.
No, I think we'll probably also get a mainline game or something along those lines by the end of the year. At the very least, we'll get like an announcement maybe during E3. Again, I think the primary focus is going to be Breath of the Wild, but I still think there's 1 or 2 things up their sleeves they could throw in there as small new announcements. And I think a mainline Fire Emblem and that rumored Metroid Prime remake are the big 2.
I'm really uncertain now where Splatoon 3 is. Is it really July, or maybe it is an August release? It's difficult to tell, but I know Splatoon 2 had a direct in 2 weeks before the launch in July in 2017.
I mean, July makes sense to me. I could see that happening. I definitely think we're going to have a standalone Splatoon Direct at some point, for sure, just considering how big this franchise is. And yeah, you know, I think that makes perfect sense. Make it maybe like mid-July, so it carries over through August and then takes us to September with Xenoblade. I see no problem with that at all. And I also think that kind of goes along with that predictions video we did a while ago, where we both said we thought Splatoon was going to be either a late spring or summer game. Throw in maybe a surprise announcement at E3 that ends up coming out in like late August. You know what I mean? Like, because they've done that before. They did that with Age of Calamity. They did that with Paper Mario. They've had like these 2-month sort of life cycles for things. And I think a game that would really make sense for that, at least in my opinion, would be that Metroid Prime remake.
I'm just sitting with this feeling. Obviously on this list, I also have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. Then Sports Story, which has been long awaited. We still don't really know. It's much like with Hollow Knight Silksong. Well, we mentioned it. We can move on. Xenoblade Chronicles 3.
I mean, I think it looks fantastic. I love the fact that it's actually taking story bits from Xenoblade Xenoblade 1 and Xenoblade 2. Even that first trailer that they gave us, it is rich with lore and a lot of things that if you just dive into it and look up analysis videos, there are a lot of references to previous characters, to potentially what the story could be, the exciting idea of potentially bringing other characters back. I think the environments look really cool, having the corpse of Araya there with the leftovers of Mechanis Bionis. I think it looks incredible. You know, I adore the series. I've been waiting, I won my pizza bet, and we're here.
Xenoblade Chronicles 3, September, shock. I didn't expect this game so soon at all. If anything, December, just like Xenoblade Chronicles 2. And it's funny because it's coming out before every other game we would have expected. Maybe with the exception, I would say, of Pokemon Gen 9 Scarlet and Violet, because what is Game Freak doing?
It has been 3 years since the last generation, right? Sword and Shield came out in 2019. So it would make sense that we are getting the new one now because it's followed that timeline since, what, it was like Gen 4 or Gen 5? We've been getting them every 3 years. This makes perfect sense. And I really do feel like everything that we've seen of this game leads me to believe this is going to be one of the best mainline Pokemon games of all time, especially now that we've tried the formula with Arceus. I think they must have been relieved releasing Arceus and seeing the response. And then now we're looking at a Switch with an install base of over 100 million. That's only going to continue to grow with all the games that are coming out this year. And I really think this is the big reason why Breath of the Wild could be pushed if they want to push it and give it a little more time, because nothing's going to beat this over the holiday season. Nothing.
No, open world Pokemon is like, and this time it's proper open world. It didn't say in the trailer, but in Twitter posts they have confirmed multiple times, welcome to the open world of Pokemon, the open world of this Spanish region. We don't have a name for a region yet. The open world theme is very heavy this year, because we also have Sonic Frontiers. We don't know yet if it's fully open world, but we have still not seen any gameplay yet. So yeah, when it comes to Sonic games, I need to see gameplay first before I say anything beyond.
Sonic Forces was straight up not good. And they must have realized that, like, we gotta take our time to really develop a good one. And, you know, Sonic Mania was incredible, but again, that's a 2D game. That is not a 3D Sonic game. And so I think they've been cooking this one for a while, and I think they probably do have something special. I think the fact that they didn't just rush this out just to have a Sonic game goes to show that, you know, I mean, Sonic as a whole, I think, has been doing a lot of things right recently. The movie was very good. The sequel movie's coming out kind of soon. Mania was great, so...
All right. Then we have covered all the games that seems to be pretty certain in 2022. Now we're gonna enter the territory to conclude this video of games that might get delayed into 2023. And the one that seems to be actually most secure out of these is still the sequel to Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. I sent you a screenshot that shows the launch schedule of primary Nintendo products, and it shows in all regions that the sequel to Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is coming before Bayonetta 3. And in Japan, they also includes that it's coming before Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope.
I see the Bayonetta 3 thing on all three of the release schedule thing, and it says 2022 in every single region, but I really think I wouldn't look too much into the actual placement on this list. I think they sort of just slotted in like 2022 for the ones that they didn't have concrete dates for at this time. I really think the most secure 2022 game is going to be Bayonetta 3, because that game got shown off in that Nintendo Direct at the end of last year where they also announced Kirby, and that to me is like the perfect Halloween title. It looks, I mean, we've seen gameplay. We've seen bits of gameplay of Breath of the Wild 2 as well, but we haven't seen concrete, a portion of the game being played in the same way that we have seen with Bayonetta 3. And so I do feel like that, if anything, of these three is the most secure for 2022. I really think that is our Halloween game. And it's also so different from the other things we've been talking about, right? With Xenoblade and Sonic and Pokemon all coming out this year, we got open world games. Obviously, the beginning of this year, too, we just had Elden Ring and Horizon as well. I think this year is jam-packed with open world games. I would not be surprised if they just want to push it just a little bit further, like I said, into March of 2023 to really secure, like, hey, this is the big open world game. This is what you've been waiting for. Have at it.
So you think that the sequel to Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is the one that is most in danger to getting delayed Friday, March 3rd, 2023 release?
You know, I actually, looking at these three, I don't think it's the most in danger, because I could actually see Mario Rabbids being pushed to summer of next year. The real surprise could be a Mario game this year, which I know seems absurd, like a mainline Mario game this year with everything that's already been announced. Like, why would they do that? But hear me out. This year is really important for Mario for Nintendo. This December, we are getting the long-awaited, very controversial Mario movie with Chris Pratt and Charlie Day. There's a date for it in December. I think it's literally Christmas, isn't it? Isn't it December 25th? So with all of that in mind, I think Nintendo knows they need to have a Mario game to promote alongside the holiday season with the movie, with the theme park. And I think Breath of the Wild, if it does come out, I don't see it being a December game. I see that being a November game as well. I mean, that'd be weird to launch both Pokemon and Zelda in the same month. I don't know, it just doesn't seem like a December title to me. I think if they're gonna do it, they would end up doing it in like November or maybe even like October? Really? If they wanted to? Whereas Mario and Rabbids, I feel like if it does come out, I could see it being their December title, right? Because the Mario movie does come out in December. So if they do want to have a Mario tie-in game, they could throw that in there in December. And so I know I'm going all over the place with this, but my point is like, if Breath of the Wild comes out in 2022, it'll be before December. If Bayonetta 3 comes out in 2022, it'll be before December. If Mario and Rabbids comes out in 2022, I see it coming out in December. Which is why I think of these three, if any of them get delayed, Mario and Rabbids would probably be delayed even further into 2023 than Breath of the Wild would, because I think there is 0% chance the sequel game does not come out in this fiscal year. And Bayonetta to me is like a hard read for fall.
I would agree too, but I think we have forgotten one thing to the equation, and that is the whole Nvidia leak, you know, with DLSS that's been going on. Could hardware have an impact on the release schedule of these games?
And so far, we just have the original base Switch, the Lite, and the OLED. And I really strongly believe, despite what people are saying, oh, Switch 2, whatever, it's not Switch 2, bro. Like, I think whatever this is like the rumored Switch Pro, is the 4K edition of the Switch, whatever, the quote-unquote new Nintendo Switch, if they want to call it that. But it's not a Switch 2. I mean, they could do what we talked about with Breath of the Wild. They could launch that still the same fiscal year, but do it in March. They don't necessarily need that for the holiday season, because if you remember correctly, back to our previous discussions, the Switch still in March of 2022 has not had a price cut. They gotta do a price cut. And I think if they're smart, they'll do that price cut during this holiday season. If Zelda is this year, the new hardware's this year. If Zelda's March, the new hardware's March.
And I think that sums it up. Thank you so much to you, Roger, for joining me in this very necessary update to the 2022 Nintendo Switch lineup. So what do you think in the comment section down below? And in the meanwhile, I will ask Roger, where can we find you?
You can find me at Rogersbase on YouTube, on Twitter, on Twitch, and on Instagram, youtube.com/Rogersbase. Thank you for having me, Conrad. Always a pleasure, and I am looking forward to eating that delicious pizza.
Well, I hope it is going to be in Italy this summer.
I hope so too.
Alright, thank you so much to everyone joining. If you haven't already, be sure to leave a like, subscribe to both of our channels. Thank you so much for watching, and a big thanks to all patrons at patreon.com/commonrealm, and in particular, role producer Charles Shesh. You all rock, and please enjoy one or both of these two awesome videos.